Now, according to the Tax Foundation, the decade since the Great Recession has been one of the most geographically unequal economic recoveries of the modern era. From 2010 to 2016, you had massive amounts of economic growth happening in urban areas with over 1 million residents. Now, this is a problem because a lot of the areas in the United States are areas with smaller metropolitan populations and a lot of rural areas. And these same areas did not get as much economic growth. So as we were doing our research for different, economic policies, we ran into opportunity zones that might be a potential solution to this. So now I'm going to pass it on to Stan, who's going to talk about what are opportunity zones and why are they important.
Thank you, Sean. What is an opportunity zone? An opportunity zone is an economically distressed urban or rural community that has been identified by certain local, state, and federal qualifications. Why is it important? It is important because the general idea of the opportunity zone is to motivate and stimulate economic development and job creation in poor or distressed communities by providing tax benefits to investors. Investors can be individuals or businesses. Next slide. Okay. Why it matters to individuals and businesses? It matters because the opportunity zones offer tax benefits to corporate or individual investors who can choose to temporarily defer tax on capital gains if they timely invest those gains amounts in a qualified opportunity fund. A qualified opportunity fund is an investment entity that is organized for the purpose of investing in opportunity zones property, as you can see in this picture. Generally speaking, it matters because of the tax benefits. And now Albert will talk about the legal issues of the opportunity zones.
Thank you, Stan. It's your friendly government guy here. It's a big government. So Public Law 115-97 was introduced November of 2017, and it was signed and passed and enacted in January 1st of 2018. So real simple, opportunity zones are determined by population census tracts, where the poverty rate has to be greater than 20%, and the median family income has to be less than 80% of the area median income. And the only limitation is each state is only restricted 25% of their total population tracts. And as of today, I believe the United States has about 75,000 total population tracts, and about 8,000 of those are considered qualified opportunity zones. So I guess, as you can see in the graph below, poverty rate for most opportunity zones lay around 27.7%, and the median family income is about 47,000. And this bill was introduced as a tool to spur economic growth and job creation in low-income communities, and states are honoring that, where less than 4% of opportunity zones exhibit pre-existing gentrification or development. So it really is going to those that actually need it. Next slide, please. So for the investor guidelines, there are three major incentives for investing in the Qualified Opportunity Fund. The first one is temporary deferral. If you just want to put that money aside, defer from being taxed, you could choose that as one of your options. The second is a step up in basis. That's the majority of people where they take advantage of the Qualified Opportunity Fund. So the two statutes of that are, if you put your money in there for 5+ years, you exclude about 10% of your original capital gain. And if you hold it for 7+ years, you exclude about 50% of your original gain. But there is a catch to that part, as since this bill sunsets in December of 2026, people can only take advantage of the 5+ years now due to, 7 years from now, it's gonna be 2027. So unfortunately, if you do want to invest, you're only limited to the 5+ years option. And the last incentive is the permanent exclusion, which is included. It is not affected by the sunset. So if you hold it for 10+ years, all your capital gains from the Qualified Opportunity Funds are excluded from tax. Now, Stan will give a quick example of how this works.
Thank you, Mr. Big Government. Well, as a simple example, imagine the following. A taxpayer sold assets and generated, let's say, $100 of capital gain, and decided to invest this capital gain in qualified opportunity fund. In 5 years, a taxpayer receives $10. In 7 years, a taxpayer receives $15. And right now is the most interesting part. At the end of year 7, only $85 of the deferred $100 capital gain is taxed. In 10 years, a taxpayer decided to sell an investment, let's say for $200, and there is no tax due because the taxpayer's investment in the qualified opportunity fund is deemed to be fair market value and no tax is due.
So let's rewind. Let's say you invest $100 in 2018. Here in this graph, we compare a standard portfolio investment to a qualified opportunity fund investment. So in the first bar, you see in 5 years, a standard portfolio takes about 5 years to vest and recoup your gains. So you have $100. While you invest in the qualified opportunity fund, you get additional 10% due to that 5-year incentive, and you have an additional $9. For 7 years, you see that kind of vest up to 15%, and 10 years, that's your moneymaker right there. So you have 15% step up plus all your exclusions from that capital gains. And here in Econ class, we like numbers. So on the bottom right, we have your standard portfolio annual return versus your qualified opportunity fund annual return. So we see in your first 5 years, it's 0% versus 1.8%, and your 7 years is about 1.5% to 3.3%, and 10 years about 2.8% to 5.8%. So it kind of shows qualified opportunity funds, it could potentially be double the amount of annual return. And next we got Christian talking about significant first-time advantages.
All righty then. Thank you, Albert, Mr. Big Government here. All right, guys. Now that we got that underway, let me introduce you to the importance of one valuable business strategy that's out there. Can any of you guys guess what it is? Jordan, your mic is dysfunctioning again, Jordan. It's all right, man. I think I was able to read your lips. Gaining first-time advantage is correcto mundo. This mere tweak of the tax code has kicked off a sprint to investing in some of America's urban and rural neighborhoods since its inception. Investors have been racing against the clock to take full advantage of the program's tax benefits and competing with other investors who are as eager to gain first mover advantage in these spaces. The first mover advantage that investors seek are distressed properties located at inflection points within the opportunity zones. Even more importantly, though, to these distressed properties is the first mover advantage opportunities in acquiring properties that are considered to be stranded assets. Now, Stephanie, I can see your interest and wondering what the hell is the difference. Well, unlike a distressed asset that faces financial or physical challenges, a stranded asset are assets that get their special value from having some sort of feature that can be obtained or replicated somewhere else. Good examples of these are breathtaking views of the city, beachfront locations, and even preserved architecture on commercial buildings. Now, I'll digress. It's not all about money in opportunity zones. Okay, well, maybe it is, but with great power comes great responsibility, right? So a first mover has to gain support of community stakeholders to ensure investment strategies are aligned with the goals of the community. And these relationships and collaborations begin early in the process. Therefore, naturally, making the community's support just another first mover advantage to consider in opportunity zones. In all, the real estate game is already scarce as it is. There is only a finite of space to work off of, with plenty of investors looking to cash in, making the race to being first in opportunity zones even more real, y'all. And now, next, I'm going to have Sean speaking on the cost of opportunity zones. Take it away, Sean.
So as Dr. Gift has spoken to us before, there's always a cost to every economic policy out there, and opportunity zones are no different. So one of the costs that you're seeing in opportunity zones is a reduction in tax revenue, right? So if people are deferring their capital gains tax and also getting a reduction in those taxes, we're naturally just going to see less tax revenue coming in. So as you can see in the first few years of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, you're seeing a reduction in tax revenue. But then as those capital gains deferrals end and after those 5 years and 7-year plans, we project, they projected that they will get some money back with an $8 billion, increase and $2.7 billion increase in 2026 and 2027. So overall, we just want to stress that this policy does have a cost. And now to kind of talk about the displacement effect of opportunity zones and some of the possibly negative effects as well. I think we've talked a lot about the positive effects, with investors and communities, but now let's talk a little bit about the negatives. So one of the things that we want to stress is in the bill of 2017, that there was no place in there that said that opportunity zones were required to create jobs. So with a lot of these, qualified opportunity zone funds, it's mostly focused on capital gains and making sure that you bring money back for your investors. So there was no possible way that it said that it must create jobs, which is kind of a misaligned incentive, because if the whole point of opportunity zone is to reinvigorate these areas, jobs should be a big part of that. And then second is, according to a study in Maryland, and again, this is just in Maryland, and this was with enterprise zones, which are slightly different from opportunity zones. Only 12% of the jobs were filled by community residents. And although there hasn't been much data on opportunity zones yet, this is just this could just be a clear gap in the future where even if opportunity zones are creating jobs or creating investments in an area, those jobs aren't necessarily being filled by community residents, and rather those it's being filled by people that are moving in due to that investment in that area. The one thing to consider with opportunity zones is perhaps another bill that really focuses on creating better skills for the current community residents there. And then lastly, another effect that could happen is that those low-income residents could be displaced by increasing property values. So as an area gets more investment, gets more money pumped into it, it could come to a point where many of the residents that I was hoping to impact might have to leave those areas just because, there's increasing property values and increasing prices elsewhere. So overall, that's our presentation. We have our references here, and please like and subscribe below if you all really enjoyed. Thank you. Review, yeah, just as a reminder, yeah.
Thank you, bro.
Shoot, yeah, I gotta do that.
Yeah, I did the review already. Talk a lot of shit, and then is this recording? No, it's a joke. I'm being sarcastic. You have to be all
do
right.
the least amount of work. You can talk shit.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make
you
a 3-page
Havana in your group,
bio.
right?
Yeah,
What?
Havana. Yeah, I got Havana.
Damn, she probably ain't doing anything, man. Dude, I'm kidding. Don't.
Come on, that's
Don't screenshot it and take this out of context.
oh shit.
Well, if you invest in the
So one of the things I just noticed is like the Zoom recording, Albert. So you know our faces. So because the one thing I'm worried about is like I hope we had our faces on the side, because sometimes I just noticed on my end it was taking over half the PowerPoint because I had it in a way where it was on almost in the middle. So it was kind of weird.
Oh shit. No, mine was on the top.
Okay, yours on the top. Okay.
View.
Okay, you're good. Mine when I go full screen, it gets really weird.
Yeah, same. Especially when people share screen, it automatically makes it go full screen. Kind of annoying.
I have alcohol in my background.
It's all good, dude. It goes well with donuts, I guess.
Yeah. I just feel, I don't know, dude. I messed up so much.
You got some stage fright?
Yeah, I can't be an actor, or I need to practice. I need to go to Toasters. What's it? Those Toaster clubs.
Toastmasters?
Don't forget the acting
Yeah, I need to
part.
go to Toaster Master, bro. I need to sign up.
You know, what'd be funny? How about we all say something bad about a team member, and then at the end we realize it's not recording, and then you put it at the end of the presentation.
Oh,